This is our top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis for April 12, 2019. I am your analyst, JC De Guzman. I'll be talking about 10 different stocks today, and I'll begin with FB. FB closed on Friday at 112 pesos per share. Support is at 104 per share. For the resistance, I've decided to get the psychological resistance position at the 61.8% of the Fibonacci extension, and that is pegged near 120.20. So the last price closed above its VWAP of 110.93. That's another bullish point. So we already have 2 out of 4 criteria present. Volume was above its 10-day volume average. So we already have 3 out of 4 criteria present. Now for the fourth criteria, which is identifying if the most traded and most voluminous range was closed was registered closer to the intraday high than the intraday low, you will have to post a request now inside our private clients forum, and I'll give you my price volume distribution analysis for FB. Okay, so but as far as the 4 criteria are concerned, we have identified that 3 out of 4 are already present. Now, just to confirm, if the fourth criterion is also present, just please post a request inside our private clients forum. Now, for the foreign investors, they registered about 13 million pesos. They bought about 13 million pesos worth of shares on Friday. For the 2019 year to date, foreign investors are bullish on FB. MACD, meanwhile, is continuously moving bullishly above the signal line. Historical volatility is at 37%. That means a low risk level again, or still for FB. My overall sentiment for FB remains bullish. For those who have this stock, please be on top of your trailing stop loss. Sell your shares once it's hit. For those who don't have a position yet and are thinking if it's logical to enter a new position, please make sure that all 4 criteria are present. If they are, park your buying price inside the most traded and most voluminous range and not at any price. Okay, moving on to Bell, the next stock in the list. Bell closed on Friday at 2.47. Support is at 2.42. Resistance is at 2.66. With such a towering volume, it managed to break out above its previous resistance at 2.42, which is now acting as its immediate support. And that ascent in price also registered a last price that's above its VWAP of 2.45, so 2 ticks above its VWAP. So with this, we know that 3 out of 4 criteria are present. Again, please post a request inside our private clients forum so I can tell you if the most traded and most voluminous range was also registered closer to the intraday high than the intraday low. Because if all 4 criteria are present, it's a confirmation. We got 4 confirmations of a bullish sentiment for Bell. On the other hand, foreign investors registered about 81,000 pesos worth of net foreign buying on Friday. For 2019 year-to-date, foreign investors are bearish on Bell. Meanwhile, MACD continues its position above the signal line, which is a bullish signal. Historical volatility is at 21%. It's a low risk level for Bell. My recommendation here, my overall sentiment first is neutral to bullish. I have this hesitation to give Bell a completely bullish overall sentiment because I can see the possibility of Bell retracing or retesting the support at 2.42, especially that we only have 3 remaining trading days this Holy Week. So people or traders might consider 2.45 to 2.47 as a profit-taking day, especially if they also think that Bell may not be able to sustain its ascent above 2.45 or 2.42 with only 3 trading days remaining this Holy Week. So with that, my recommendation for those who have Bell is that you sell maybe 1/4 of your entire holdings on Bell, 1/4 to 1/2 of your holdings near 2.47 to 2.45. Should the price continue to go up, then you still have that cash to buy back those shares. But of course, you will have to make sure that all four criteria are present before you decide to buy back those sold shares. Now, for those who don't have a position yet on Bell, make sure that those four criteria are present and just buy in tranches, not in a lump sum style fashion of buying. Okay, and when you buy, make sure that you buy within the most traded and most voluminous range, not at any price. Okay. Besides that, what also one of the factors that influences my neutral to bullish position on Bell is that the alignment of the moving averages is still not in a perfect bullish position. We can only see that perfect bullish position alignment if and when Bell closes above maybe about 2.80, 2.6 to 2.80. Once it crosses above that, it crosses that range, maybe that's the time that we can see these moving averages positioning themselves in a perfect bullish position. But right now, the 200-day SMA is still hovering the two shorter term moving averages. Nonetheless, yeah, it's still in a perfect bearish position. So the longer term ones are still hovering the shorter term moving averages. So this is not the kind of an alignment that we would like to see, especially if you already have a position in this stock. Okay, so there you go for Bell. Next one we have FPH, First Philippine Holdings Corporation, closed on Friday at 82.25. Support is at 78.7. For the resistance, I've decided to get a psychological resistance, which is pegged near 61.8% of the Fibonacci extension, and that is near 87.54 or 87.55 if you would like to round it up. Okay. Now, uh, last Friday, it closed above the VWAP of 81.65. We have a green candlestick. Last price is already above the VWAP. Volume is also above the 10-day volume average. We already have 3 out of 4 criteria. They are present. So for the price and volume distribution analysis, I request that you post a request for the price volume distribution of FPH inside our private clients forum. Okay. As for the MACD is also has already registered the formation of a bullish convergence with the signal line. Okay, so once it crosses above the signal line, that will become a bullish divergence with the signal line. Meanwhile, foreign investors sold about 600,000 pesos worth of shares on Friday, and the 2019 year-to-date sentiment of the foreign investors remains bearish. For the alignment of the moving averages, I would say that the moving averages are already positioned in a perfect bullish alignment. Mean to say, the shorter term moving averages are all above the longer term ones. So this is a good. I mean to say, FPH is already trending bullishly, especially now that it's moving above the 50 SMA and the 10 SMA as well. Historical volatility, on the other hand, is at 22%. That means a low risk level for FPH. However, I can see that RSI is already about 4 to 5 points away from hitting the classical overbought level, I mean. So my recommendation for those who have FPH, make sure that you consider locking in some profits near 82.5 to 83 pesos per share, or as soon as your trailing stop loss is hit. Consider locking in some gains, okay? For those who don't have FPH yet, my recommendation is that you wait for a pullback, preferably near 78.7. If a pullback does not happen and continues to go up, entertain the idea of entering a new position if and when those 4 criteria are present. Okay, moving on to PHES. Philippine Estates Corporation closed on Friday at 0.53. Support is at 0.49. Resistance is at 0.54. So it's just 1 centavo away from hitting the resistance level and If it breaks out above 0.54, that will make 0.57 as the next resistance level. If it breaks down below 0.49, that will make 0.44 as the next support level as well. The last price closed above the VWAP of 0.53. It's almost equal to the VWAP 0.53 if we are to round it up, 0.53. If we will not round it up, it will be VWAP last Friday was at 0.5267. Rounding it up, we will get 0.53, which is equal to the last price of 0.53 last Friday as well. Now, the alignment of the moving averages is already in a perfect bullish position. Volume closed above the 10-day volume average. So 3 out of 4 criteria are present. We get 3 confirmations of a bullish sentiment last Friday. MACD is already moving, still moving above the signal line, increasing the gap above the signal line. Historical volatility, on the other hand, gives PHES an extremely high risk level with a volatility score of 106%. My recommendation, my overall sentiment is bullish on PHES, but my recommendation for those who have this stock is to consider locking in some profits near 0.54. 0.54 to 0.57. If you don't have PHES yet, please wait for a pullback closer to 0.5 to 0.49. Okay? Make sure that you don't rush into the idea of buying if and when you don't see all 4 criteria present. Okay? Now let's move on to the next stock in the list. We have Petro Energy Resources Corporation, or PERC. Last Friday, it closed at 4.4, equal to its resistance at 4.4. Support is at 4.15, and that ascent in price happened with volume above its 10-day volume average. Now for the resistance above 4.4, we have 4.59. Okay, so it was a green candlestick. It closed above the VWAP of 4.33 last Friday. Volume was also above its 10-day volume average. 3 out of 4 criteria are present. MACD, on the other hand, is also still moving above its 10-day volume average. Historical volatility is at 30%. It's still a low risk level for PERC. For those who already have a PERC, my recommendation is that you consider locking in some profits above 4.4. Maybe a few tranches. It doesn't have to be all shares. Why? Because historically speaking, PERC had a hard time breaking out above the 4.4 to 4. No, no, 4. It had a hard time breaking out above 4.4 to 4.15 to 4.4 level. 4.15 to the 4.4 level. So might as well lock in some profits above 4.4 even when it is spotted. For those who don't have PERC yet, please wait for a pullback near 4.15, or as soon as it breaks down below 4.4 again, consider entering a new position only when those 4 criteria are present. But if I were you, I would be more risk averse by waiting near 4.15. Next, we have ICT. ICT closed on Friday at 126 pesos per share. Support is at 123. Resistance is at 133.5. It also closed. It closed at 127.3 rather on Friday. Now it closed below its VWAP of 128.10. Volume was above the 10-day volume average. It broke down below its 10 SMA. So that was already confirmation of distorted bullish sentiment on ICT once it breaks down below the 10 SMA. And that also resulted to the MACD increasing its gap below the signal line, going to the southward direction. It's a bearish signal. Historical volatility is at 51%, which means a moderate risk level for ICT. My overall sentiment is already bearish on ICT. My recommendation is that you should have already considered locking in some profits near 133.5 or as soon as your trailing stop loss is hit. For those who don't have ICT yet, please wait for a breakdown below 123 or for a bounce near 123. How would you know? How would you know if ICT is more likely to bounce at 123? Well, if those four criteria are present, meaning to say there's a demand to buy the stock at a higher price, at a price higher than 123, if those four criteria are only present. If they're not present, then it means to say there's no, ICT traders think that ICT is not yet too cheap to be bought again near 123 if those four criteria are not yet present. Okay, it's as simple as that. Next, we have Bloom. Bloom closed on Friday at 12.42. It closed below its VWAP of 12.57. It almost broke down below its 10-day simple moving average as well. Support is at 11.15. Resistance is near 13.06. And volume was also above its 10-day volume average. MACD has already registered seemingly bearish convergence with a signal line, and historical volatility is at 45%, low risk level for Bloom. Although the alignment of these three simple moving averages is still in a perfect bullish position, I would be more risk averse with my overall sentiment on Bloom. I would say I'm already neutral to bearish on Bloom. So if you have Bloom, it would be better to lock in some profits near 13 pesos per share or as soon as your trailing stop loss is hit. And if just in case you're thinking of averaging down or entering a new position, please don't do that just yet. I would suggest that you wait for a pullback, preferably below 11.7, all the way to 11.12. Okay. Now, moving on to PXP. PXP closed on Friday at 7.62. It closed below its VWAP 7.85. Volume was above its 10-day simple moving average. Foreign investors sold about 2.6 million worth of shares. MACD continues its bearish trajectory below the signal line, and RSI is still way below its classical oversold territory. So it seems that PXP traders are still not convinced that PXP is already too cheap to be bought again at this level. So they would want a cheaper price than this, meaning to say historical volatility is at 134%, an extremely high risk level for PXP. So 3 out of 4 criteria already negative, meaning to say we have 3 confirmations of a bearish sentiment last Friday on PXP. Support is at 7.57. Resistance is at 7.57. Support is at 5.12. My overall sentiment for PXP is extremely bearish. My recommendation is that just add PXP in your watch list. Let the capitulation do its thing. Let these convinced sellers vomit as much as they can. As soon as those 4 criteria are spotted to be present, then let's entertain the idea of entering a new position by buying in tranches on PXP. But for now, I don't see those 4 criteria happening. So let's all be in a wait and see mode on PXP. Let's stay on the sidelines. Let's just continue monitoring this stock. I think there's a money to be made on PXP, but not now. Let's wait for those 4 criteria to be present. If there's one stock I would recommend that you truly should monitor, it would be PXP. But again and again, let the capitulation do its thing. Let capitulation happens. Once it gets exhausted and those 4 criteria are present, then buy in tranches, do a test buy. Okay? Now, second to the last in the list, we have Cebu Pacific. It closed on Friday at 84 pesos per share. It closed below its VWAP of 85 pesos per share, and support is at 80.76. Resistance is near 87.9. It also closed with a volume above its 10-day volume average. So now Cebu Pacific is already moving below its 50-day SMA. If the price, you know what, if the price continued its ascent above 87.9, we would have seen the 10 SMA crossing above the 50 SMA, but that did not happen because profit taking started to dominate the sentiment near 87.9. So now the last price is still below, is already below the 50 SMA, and I think it might continue to move below the 10 SMA if this bearish sentiment continues, especially that we only have 3 remaining trading days this Holy Week. MACD, or the foreign investors, on the other hand, sold about 9 million pesos worth of shares on Friday. MACD is still moving above the signal line, but it has already registered as a formation of a bearish convergence with the signal line. Historical volatility is at 38%, a low risk level for Cebu Pacific. My overall recommendation for Cebu Pacific, if you are into short-term trading, by the way, we're talking about short-term trading here, not long-term investing. For short-term trading purposes, locking in some profits near 87, between 87 to 88 was ideal. Okay, and waiting for a pullback, for a bounce near 81 pesos per share is ideal as well. So for those who have Cebu Pacific, you should consider locking in some profits between 87 to 88, or as soon as your trailing stop loss is hit. And for those who don't have Cebu Pacific yet, wait for a pullback as close as possible to 81 pesos per share, or 80.8 to 81. Okay, so last in the list we have ferronickel. Global Ferronickel Holdings, or FNI, it closed last Friday at 1.49. That's below its VWAP of 1.5. And FNI is also moving below its 50 SMA. What happened last Friday was a volume above its 10-day volume average. MACD also registered a death cross below the signal line. That's a bearish signal. Historical volatility is at 50%, still a low risk level for, just 1 point away from entering the moderate risk level for FNI. So I've seen nothing but bearish signals for FNI. Let's see if by the way, support is at 1.48, resistance is at 1.76. Let's see if FNI will respect the support at 1.48. If it maintains its position above 1.48 and those 4 criteria are spotted, you should know what those 4 criteria are, okay? As soon as those 4 criteria are spotted and the price maintains position above 1.48, maybe above 1.45 to above 1.45. If FNI maintains its position above 1.41, let's make that as the support. If it maintains its position above 1.45 and those 4 criteria are spotted, then we can do a test buy. Only if those 4 criteria are present. Don't hurry. If only 3 out of 4 are present, then don't rush into the idea of entering a new position on FNI. It has to be for the presence of those 4 criteria. Okay? So for now, my overall sentiment is bearish on FNI. My recommendation, for those who don't have the stock yet, check the presence of those 4 criteria if and when FNI maintains its position above 1.45. Otherwise, wait for a breakdown below 1.45, closer to 1.35. Okay, so not just yet. Now, for those of you who tried their luck to enter a new position on FNI when it was near 1.45, you should respect your trading stop loss, okay? And there's a newsletter on the extras tab on your account. Read volume 1 number 13 if you don't have an idea yet what a trailing stop loss is. I wrote that article in the vernacular, in Filipino or in Tagalog. So there you go for the top 5 gainers and top 5 losers analysis for April 12, 2019. Again, my name is JC De Guzman. I wish you a disciplined, an independent, and a profitable trading day ahead. Have a great day.